أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So we resume our conversation from the beginning of Surah Baqarah. A super duper quick recap of what we discussed last year. So Surah Baqarah, starting from the second page of Quran, is welcoming us with the description of itself. The Quran is describing itself as this is if it is a book upon which there's no doubt, and its guidance for muttaqeen. And then it started describing who muttaqeen is. And quite a number of discussions last term, we talked about who muttaqeen are. So it was as if describing that this book speaks to such a mindset. Very briefly, it is translated as God conscious, but we talked about this in depth, so I'm not going to get into what muttaqin was. Now we turn the page of Quran and comes this verse. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. Indeed, as for the disbelievers, whether you warn them or you warn them not, it is all the same for them, they believe not. Now it's talking about a second personality type. Actually, in the introduction of Surah Baqarah, within the first 10 verses, it talks about three personality types. The first type was mentioned as those who can benefit from Quran, and they were mentioned as muttaqeen. The second type is now being introduced, the disbeliever. And when it comes to disbeliever, it's being introduced in a very interesting way, saying, indeed, as for the disbelievers, whether you warn them or you warn them not, it is all one, it is all the same for them. They don't believe. And we'll also study the next verse. I'll just tell you the verse, then we will study them, inshallah. ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. Allah has set a seal on their hearts and on their hearing, and on their vision is a veil, and for them is an awful punishment, severe punishment. These are the two verses, verse number 6 and 7 is about kafir, this second behavioral pattern. First 5 verses were about muttaqeen. So Quran spent 5 verses for muttaqeen. Assalamu alaikum. You can come here or there as you wish, wherever you feel comfortable.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
I'll do a little more, so
Okay, welcome. So this one is 2 verses for the disbeliever. And eventually we will see, inshallah, in the upcoming lectures, there would be 12 verses, which talks about a third personality type. Okay, let's go to the first verse. This was supposed to come at the end. Anyways. So, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. When we say kafir, what comes to your mind? So let me ask to these 3 gentlemen, since you guys are new here. And those people might have had some idea about it. But when we say kafir, what comes to mind? Disbeliever? Disbeliever? Anything else? It's just a disbeliever outright. Like, if we take it as just a disbeliever, and there's this, let's say, some random disbeliever out in the streets, let's call him, I don't know, some name, X, so that it's neutral. Mr. X is a disbeliever. And this verse is saying, can I read this verse to say that Mr. X, since he says, I'm a disbeliever. There's no point of going and warning him. Even if you warn him or don't warn him, Mr. X would never believe whatsoever. Can we say that?
No, I think with the disbeliever, it's something in their heart that they're certain against believing in Allah.
So this is a descriptive sentence, right? This is describing what that attitude means, actually. Who is a disbeliever? Let's read the sentence as such. Who is a disbeliever? As our second personality type, certain attitude towards message, you can choose to be indifferent. Whether somebody warns you or doesn't warn you, you already set up your mind. This attitude is called disbeliever. Does this make sense? But before the revelation, somebody can take such an attitude. No matter what you say. Like, for example, you're studying finance, right? You already made your decision, you're studying finance. When you came into the room and I asked you what you study, you said finance. And I started telling you how bad of an idea it is to study finance and whatnot. You listen to me out of kindness, maybe. You say, I already paid the tuition for this many years. I already set up my mind. I will study finance, whether you like it or you dislike it. I'll be studying this. So, irrespective of what you say, you already made up your mind. This is an attitude. So, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. So, in this regard, disbeliever is the person, whether you, okay, kids, settle down. So, whether you warn them or you don't warn them, it's not going to make a difference. But why is Quran talking about that? What is the point of making such a description? William, were you not believing, like, I think you recently started believing in the message, no? So, were you a disbeliever at some point? It becomes a tough question, isn't it? Like, you were not within at least the description of the word itself. You haven't even heard of the message itself at some point, right? So at this point, it wouldn't mean then to say that, oh, don't even go and bother delivering the message to this William guy. He won't believe anyways, but rather, okay, come in. Assalamu alaikum, welcome. But it's rather, are you, now speaking to me, are you in a mindset in which whether somebody tells you the message or doesn't tell you the message, nothing will change. You already made up your mind. I already know the answer. Because this is guidance for whom? This is guidance for me. This verse is a guidance for me. I forgot your name. Mazen. So this verse in Quran is speaking to you and saying that as for the disbeliever, it doesn't make any difference whether you warn them or you don't warn them, they won't believe. What does this tell you?
It tells you that they already like have they're not open to reason. They already decided, they already made up their minds.
Which means don't waste your time with them.
Yeah.
Who are they?
They disbelieve.
Like, can you spot them in the campus, for example?
No, I don't think so.
Then what's the utility of this message, right?
Yeah.
Like, you cannot spot them because you cannot
See what's in their heart.
So what is the utility of this message for you?
For us, I guess.
Yeah, for us, yeah.
Is it talking about how no matter like what you tell someone, like at the end of the day, it's like it's the power of Allah that's gonna guide them versus not guide them.
Okay. That is true. We will get to that. That's in one sense. But it's also talking about, because if actually I'm going to ask about this in the next one. But if this is the case, for example, if we take it as such, this is going to be my next question. I'll just put the question there. I'll get back to that question later. Then how is it that this person is going to be put into hell? Because in the next verse, it's going to say that for them is severe punishment. So if it is God who doesn't put belief in their hearts, why is he putting them in the fire then? Right? Which is another problem. But let's not get to there right now. What is the utility of this message to me? I cannot spot them because it says don't waste your time. And in practice, really, Prophet ﷺ, who was the first recipient of this message, spent his life repetitively going to those whom we know never believed. He did this. He repetitively went to them to invite them to, or warn them with the message. So if the practical outcome of this verse is not going to be don't waste your energy with those kids, like those disbelievers, focus on the good MSA kids, I mean, forget about those infidels out there type of a thing. And what is the utility of this, Brother Wickham?
So I think the word like a warning, maybe we should emphasize that, because when we say they made up their mind, it may mean different things. Like making your mind is not that thing. Like if you, let's say, searching for a new car and you make your research, right? You spend a lot of time and you make your decision. After that point, somebody else comes and tells you another thing, and you say, okay, I already made my decision, and you buy the car. There's nothing wrong with this. So if we take it that way. So disbeliever or disbelieving is an attitude that you make your mind. It doesn't sound something. There's not anything wrong with that. But if you take the word warning and start from there, rather than just assuming what is going on in the disbeliever's mind ourselves, the ayah is teaching us. So in contrast with the previous ayah that we studied, what was the let's say, the mark of a belief? The mark of the belief was being aware of what is going on around. Like we talked about the consciousness, we talk about the belief in unseen meaning, or something going on here. I can, see that type of attitude. Being aware, being conscious of what is going on around you. Okay? Studying the universe and understanding what the signs in the universe points. That's the belief. That's how we study. Muttaqin. Here, there is another attitude now mentioned, which doesn't care about the warning. So the word warning comes with some connotation. It means it includes something useful. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a warning. So if, for instance, the outside is slippery because of the frozen, the ice, thank you. And if I come and tell you, be careful, there's ice there, this is a warning, right? But if you go outside now, and I say, be careful with the sun, right? Don't let it burn your skin, for instance, it's not a warning. It's just empty talk. So if somebody ignores my empty talk, this person is doing something wrong. So when Quran says warning, it implies that whatever being said must be relevant and includes truth that would help them. Regardless of that, this attitude will not accept it. So it's not about making your mind up, but it is being close to warning. It's being close to the reality that would affect you, that would harm you, and somebody's trying to guide you, you are still closing the door. Why? Because you're not aware of what is going on around you. Like a child. Sometimes, the children, there's something dangerous, the car is approaching, you would shout, Bushra, don't go there, Bushra, don't go there. She wouldn't even care. Why? She's into something else. She's thinking about some, the stories, or she's looking at the stones. She's not aware of her surrounding, what is going on. So she just closes, the senses. Okay? So this is how disbelief is defined in Quran. Not open. Mostly, we will study probably later, but mostly because of your prejudices. You say, no, I have to accept this way of life. Everything else, I am closed. Not that I made up my mind or anything. No, I'm closed, even thinking about it.
And to follow up with this, it is mentioned as الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and the word in here is in the past tense. So for those people like the disbeliever, the word kufr in here is stated in the past tense rather than present tense, because it said, like, this is who I am. I labeled myself as, I'm not open. Right? Even before the conversation started, I make that decision. I'm not going to listen. And since we have new people here, I would like to repeat our example for that. Like if I say, Mukhtar, give me $5, and Mukhtar says, I don't have $5. Now he's denying that he has $5. Actually, there's $5, let's assume for the sake of argument, in his pocket, but he is oblivious to that. He forgot really. Actually, yesterday he put $5 in his pocket, but he forgot about it. So is he denying the truth? In a sense, but if I were to show him, no, look, there is $5 in your pocket, then he would say, oh yeah, sorry, I totally forgot it. Yes, here $5. Like now it makes a difference. I warned him saying that there is $5 in your pocket, because his reasoning for saying no was because really he thought there's no $5 in his pocket. But let's assume a second case where Mukhtar is the super stingiest guy on earth, and even if he has $1 billion, he's not going to give me $5.
The warden student.
The warden student, yeah. So I say, Mukhtar, look, there is $5. Then Mukhtar would say, if he is a kafir, putting the description of denier, he already made up his mind. He's not going to give me a single penny. No, I don't have $5. This will be his response. Because I already made up my mind. I don't have any money. This attitude is how Quran is describing. The decision is already made even before the conversation started. But again, let's take it back to our conversation with Mr. X. This verse is not really saying, don't waste your time with them. Why? Like there's a very interesting, like every single aspect of Quran is very careful, really. Let's go a little bit with the structure of the sentence. Inna ladhina kafaru sawa'un alayhim, like alayhim in here means for them, it doesn't make any difference. If the sentence was as follows, Inna ladhina kafaru sawa'un anzartahum am lam tunzirhum la yu'minun. As for those unbelievers, if you warn them or not, it doesn't make a difference. The sentence could have been as such. But it's saying it doesn't make a difference for them. It makes a difference for you to warn them. It doesn't make a difference for them to be warned. That's an interesting difference. Because it says, you should still go and warn Mr. X. You don't know what is in their heart anyways. Like the main point of this conversation is not to say that don't warn Mr. X. It doesn't make any difference for them. Don't waste your time. If it was, we wouldn't have this alayhim in the verse, meaning for them it doesn't make any difference. But for you, it does make a difference. So keep warning. That's why Prophet kept warning. And prophetic attitude is to keep warning. But then what is the benefit of it to me? Don't be like this. If you have such a mindset, you won't benefit from Quran. But I am studying Quran. I'm definitely interested in the message of Quran. Double check. Maybe I have some preconceived ideas which is set to stone. And when I read Quran, Quran is warning me about something else. But I don't pay attention to it. Like for instance, have you ever read Quran as Quran talks about something which is contradictory to our modern science's revelations? On the surface, now it's contradicting, right? How do you read such a verse? Do you read it as, oh, what science lays the foundation, this is the truth? What Quran says, how do you deal with it? Because I already made my decision. What science says, which is based on observation, is the truth. And now Quran is saying something else. What do I do? Actually, this could be applied to, in general as well. In my case, I might have made my mind about certain things and then try to bend or skew or turn around certain verses of Quran. It's talking about an attitude. I should take this upon myself. Am I displaying the attitude of a kafir in certain aspects of my life? It doesn't need to be that I am a kafir like from this end to that end, like in my entirety. But in certain aspects of my life, when it comes to certain things, I might be assuming such an attitude. And this is going to limit my benefit from the message, because this is the second personality type that Quran is starting with. Actually, it's very beautiful that Quran lays the audience first, saying that this is who is going to benefit from. These are the people who has no benefit from me. And then when it comes to the munafiq, the hypocritical aspect, it's going to talk about a totally different view and how much they benefit or they don't benefit. Sounds good? Any questions or comments so far?
I think the point you made about like seeming contradiction, I think that's very like interesting, because I was thinking about this the other day. Like if you had talked to someone like in Baghdad like 700 years ago, and there's been like a dry spell and there hasn't been any rain for a while, and then the rain comes, someone like that, or someone that's very close to the deen in general, would view the rain as a blessing from Allah. But if someone sees rain nowadays, they're going to be like, oh, well, evaporation happened and condensation, and then this happened, that happened, that happened, and the water came down. And so I think that the era of like or secular thinking in general does a very good job at explaining like what is going on, but it doesn't at all address why it's happening. Like you would always like talk with atheists, and then they would say, okay, well, we needed an explanation for what ancient people didn't know why thunder happened, and so they thought it was God. But thunder is really just this. But I think that's such a dangerous idea, specifically because it falls into like this pitfall of this ayah. Because, like for example, you can talk about all of the angles in a building and like the supporting beams and everything, but that doesn't negate the fact that someone had to put the building together. Just because you can explain thunder, it's the electrons and like it's going from a high concentration to just because you can explain that doesn't mean that there isn't a force behind it. And I think that the people like that this ayah is talking about are closed off from any other perspective other than a secular one. And I think that's a very dangerous proposition.
Actually, very good point. But that perspective itself is also falling into a fallacy.
Actually.
is what was the fallacy here? For example, beams being put together is explaining why the building is standing up.
Yeah.
Which is the cause of building standing is beams coming together. Like this causal understanding, for example, is an unquestionable truth that we are conditioned to take as correct in this day and age. But is this a correct reason? Or is this a correct understanding? Because when Quran says something else on top of it, how do we listen to it? We listen to it the same way. When Creator is talking about, He creates every single thing, or He is in creation constantly. When Quran says this, for example, how do we reconcile the two? One of them is saying that no, it's standing up because of the beams. The beam underneath is supporting the beam on the top. It's not God is supporting this and God is supporting this. It's not that God creates this and creates this. It is that at some point creation happened, but now this one, the one on the bottom is supporting the one on the top. This is an understanding that we already somehow accept that this to be the case. Maybe our position here is unlike the second Mukhtar, which is he doesn't want to give us a single penny, meaning Mazen is Mazen, right? Mazen is not preconditioned to say that no matter what you explain me, I'm not going to accept that the beam on the top is being created, is being supported by the Creator. The beam on the bottom is supported. Is maybe not as preconditioned. Maybe if somebody shows him that, look, Mazen, this there is actually $5 in your pockets. Maybe he's going to see it. But this is where we need to catch ourselves. This is the point. Listen to the message. Don't have this preconceived conviction and close yourself in there to say that, no way. I'm not going to take this verse which says He is acting in creation every moment in the way it points to, but rather start sugarcoating it. Oh yeah, the first creation, the Big Bang one. Of course, somebody needs to explode it, right? But then He set it up and now it's working. This is our sugarcoating part of it.
Yeah.
So this verse speaks to us, saying, if you're going to benefit from this, check yourself. Where is your conviction? Because denial has levels of it. There am I in a certain occasion. Again, I'm not talking about being a blanket denier, but there am I in certain things. And we are living in an environment where those 4 kids playing in the aisle, going to Islamic school, but still in Islamic school, they start with the book, Bismillah, but then start secular sciences. The way we interpret is not Islamic. Just the wording is Islamic at the beginning of the book and whatnot. How we interpret it, how we read it as science, it's questionable how much it is there. This is your responsibility, my responsibility, to come up with such a science. As you guys were asking for, how do we do professional life as Muslims? This is where we are not there at all. Like in this world, we are not there. Muslim way of doing business, Muslim way of doing science and whatnot, we are not there. Let's start doing it. How do I read universe with the help of Quran? Quran will teach me how to read whether this beam is sitting on top of this. Quran is going to teach me how this beam is standing. Like this, how white thingy? It's a little tricky. No. Quran teaches us how this stands, not only why this stands. So I would say, let's think twice.
In Quran it says, did you see or didn't you see how God creates this or that?
Yeah.
How God creates shadows. Quran says, how?
كيف فلم ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت, for example. Don't you look don't they look how camel is created? It's asking about the how part of it. Because this is a generally like Christian creationists. I mean, they are probably more hardworking than us nowadays, way more hardworking. But this is their argument to say that religion addresses why, science addresses how, but it's a might be a misleading argument. So we need to reconsider. Is it really Quran does not talk about how? No, Quran talks about how the creation is happening. Then what does science talk about? It's observing a pattern. It says, yes, this beam is sitting on top of that beam. And when that beam is not there, this beam is not standing there. This is the observation. Then what do we say? Or therefore, this beam was the reason to support that. It makes this causal conclusion. This part we need to put a question on. This is the unquestioned conclusion that we accepted so far. Because we have been learning about this since age 5, like when the kids playing about. Now it's time for us to grow out of this. We can shed our old, skin and start listening to how Quran is introducing it without being preconditioned. Meaning, if you warn them or you don't warn them, they will keep going the same. No. There should be a difference for us. So let's come to the question that we were asking with Junaid. If you were to ask for them or you don't ask to them, warn them or you don't warn them, it would be the same, they won't believe. The question is, if it is the same whether you warn or not, why is the denier responsible for the outcome? Right? Because if I read this as such, meaning that this is talking about that Mr. X's personality and saying that, oh man, like this guy is already born in such and such country, like born into a denier family. Don't worry, like he's going to go to hell anyways. What is this innocent guy? Like you created him in this environment and then you're putting him into fire. Come on. Yes.
Because if we talk about the attitude that was mentioned, which was the disbelieving attitude, then there's a comma to describe that thing. So to the degree that you fall in the spectrum of a disbeliever, that attitude, then whether I warn you or not, you're already set. Like you already told me you don't care. So like it's just reiterating what it's kind of said at the beginning. It's like you're a disbeliever, you're not willing to listen. So whether you're gonna warn them or not, recognize like it's not gonna do anything. So to the degree I believe in whatever spectrum I'm in, I'm a disbeliever to a degree, then I fall under this thing. So it's a warning to me actually, like don't be like that because this is your option.
Yeah. And this is a very important way to read Quran. Like in these discussions, this is what we are trying to establish. Like this verse troubles many people, and it troubled me as well. Because that question we keep hearing, right? If I'm already determined to be a denier, then why are you threatening me with hell? What sort of a merciful God are you talking about?
And it will become even more pronounced with the next ayah, right?
Yeah.
Like Allah put the seal on them.
Because that reading, and you will find such readings a lot in atheist websites out there, or especially probably short TikTok videos. Actually, one of the students were recently saying a TikTok video just popped up before her, starting with, would someone merciful harm you? And she says, I said, of course not. And then the next moment, another scene comes. Then how come a merciful creator puts you into eternal fire? She says, I started feeling shaken. Like, how come? And this, if this is how you read the verses, you will get shaken. Because what sort of a religion is that? Like, what sort of a is it masochist? Like, no, masochist, or there was something else, giving harm to others, sadist. What sort of a psychopath we are talking about in here? Making you and then torturing you. It's like having a cute cat to your home as a pet and then smoking and putting the cigarette butt extinguisher on the kitten. Like, what sort of thing are you talking about, right? So then let's talk about the second verse. Now this is making things even worse. ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم. God put a seal on their hearts وعلى سمعهم, and on their hearing, وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة, and upon their sight, vision is a veil. وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, and for them is an awful punishment. Okay? So, when we say, like, God putting a seal on their hearts, let's start from there. What does this even mean? In general, God puts a seal on their heart, puts a seal on their hearing, and there exists a veil on their vision.
It actually reminds me of the example we used earlier, right? Like, I'm like, it's raining, and I'm like, but this is condensation. But the earlier told me, hey, if you're a disbeliever, this is your thought process. I came with that process, so then I was like, okay, my eyes, there's a ceiling on it. Like, I literally told you this is condensation. I don't think this is happening by my hearing. I see the rain. I'm observing things, and I should give it the right owner and giving it a different God. So my hearing is messed up. And then my eyes, it's seeing this rain, it's seeing the mercy, it's still giving me the different owner. So it warned me, don't be like this. And my eyesight, my faculty that's provided to me is also showing the issue with this. So it's the skills I think are explaining the previous something.
Very good. So, because you show them evidence, right? The evidence is a newborn baby or rain. But there's a veil or seal on their hearts. There's a seal on their hearing. Like, even if you were to bring the best of the evidence, this person is closed. Here's the anything, which explains the first part. But why is this being attributed, like sealing is being attributed to God? God placed this seal on them.
If he also owns that. Like, ultimately, that is also his to do. Like, if he didn't want that for you, he could also remove that. Because I also think, like, if you have to think Allah's like sufficient and he's truly the owner, then he also has to have that, like, that ultimate, I guess, ability to give you that seal. Because who else can give it to you?
That outcome of not being able to see, not being able to hear, not being able to perceive, is given as an outcome. That outcome is created. But what's interesting in here is that this is being described as a punishment. This part is interesting. Like, that person made an initial decision to say that I am close to message, which was going back to the word kafir. Make an initial determination saying that, I mean, this is how nowadays we study the universe, right? We say science doesn't care about the outside of the world or anything. We will explain everything within itself. If you try to bring any explanation beyond, I won't accept it. This is the decision that I made even before entering the lab, isn't it? In the lab, if I were to see the most miraculous thing, what would I say? We didn't find an explanation to this yet, but come back after 5 years. We will come up with a story 5 years later. This is our attitude. Actually, there was a debate in the TV. So this famous atheist professor with a bow tie. So he says, religion is labeling things with God if it cannot explain a certain thing, like can. For example, it says if they talk about miracles, like, well, come and make a miracle then, so that we will see, and then I will believe in you. the professor claims. Then the other moderator says, would we really? Like, honestly, he's now asking a question. Would we really believe? Says, oh, we'll come up with an explanation for that too. Like, even if the miracle was to happen before his eyes, he is ready to say that we will try to come up with an explanation. Why? What does this mean? The attitude means there cannot happen anything within here that I cannot explain in terms of itself. This is a decision already made. For this person, heart is closed. Ears are like hearing is closed, sealed, and upon their sight is a veil. But this is not a natural phenomenon. Now I will take it back to how Junaid was asking the question initially, or how I asked a question to Junaid. If God is putting a seal on their heart, who is responsible for this denial? So God says, I put that seal on there. And then at the end says, and for them is a very big punishment. God, you put the seal. Why am I being the responsible? If you didn't put the seal, if you willed, you will open my eyes and I will see and I will believe. If you closed my eyes, which is another verse, if we don't read it properly, we will get troubled. Yes.
It's to me the most important part in this area, before even the seal, is the heart, hearing, and the eyes. So it is like, if we are honest to ourselves, it is kind of surprising. In the previous area, we were talking about a certain attitude not being open to any warning, right? And now here is the explanation of it. First, we've seen the symptom. Now it's explaining the mechanism. And I'm expecting something like that, when you are in a disbelieving attitude, you're not open to warning because, let's say, you are silly or you are stupid, you don't understand, whatever. But the explanation comes as there's something with your heart. There is something with your eyes, your hearing, your senses, and how you interpret these senses. This explanation to me is very surprising because we don't see usually the things in this way. So an atheist, for instance, an atheist attitude, they don't believe because they know a lot of things. We don't know enough physics. They know more physics. Hence, they don't have gaps in their understanding. They don't need to believe in God. That's our usual attitude. Or they are interested in some other parts of the reality, as our brother said. They are interested in how, we are interested in why. This is why they don't believe. We have such explanations. God says, no. The disbelief, the root of the disbelief is actually, it's not an intellectual, philosophical conclusion. It starts from the heart. What it means, your desires, your nafs, your soul, right? You have this inclination towards something. You don't want to lose something, for instance. You don't want to lose your authority. That's how it's explained when the people go against the prophet, right? In the stories. You don't want to lose your authority. You love your authority. You love your status. Hence, because of that, where your heart is, you are close to warmth. An atheist prefers disbelief, not because of some intellectual troubles already. Oh, I cannot understand how the merciful God can create this or that. No, it starts before that, ayah says. they already make their mind in the sense that they have inclination towards something to preserve their status, to preserve something they own, they claim to own, something they love. And it applies to you as well. You are close to warning when you are so attached to something, you are afraid to lose it. I mean, look at yourself, forget about others. You will see it. When you're so attached, when you're afraid to lose, you ignore any warning. It starts from there.
So, yes.
Yeah, I agreed with what he's saying, and I think at least tell me if you agree with this or not. I actually see that the veil is sort of a continuation, like basically what he was saying, because of the preconceived, like from the last I was talking about, where it has like the attitude. I think the veil is the punishment for that. I think it was I think it was a hadith, or like whenever like a person sins or when a person falls into sin, the worst punishment that Allah can give them is closing their heart off, like moving away. And I think there was this one hadith where essentially the meaning behind it, I can't remember the exact like hadith, but the meaning behind it was how am I always being punished? And then the answer was, well, aren't you unable to get up for the night prayer? So like that's the punishment. Having a heavy heart, having a closed heart. But that's the precursor to the veil. And so like to people that say like, oh, there's a veil in their hearing, there's a veil in their eyes. So how is Allah going to put this veil and then send them to the hellfire? It's like, well, why are you assuming that the veil was there in the first place? Why aren't you assuming that the veil was there after a disobedience happened? And I think that one of the best examples of this from the Seerah specifically was Abu Talib's refusal to become a Muslim. Because the Prophet said, just say one word, كلمة حاجك بها عند Allah, just say La ilaha illallah. And then he's about to say it, and then they the leaders from Quraysh would say, أترغب عن ملة عبد المطلب, do you go back on the religion of Abdul Muttalib? And that's the actual veil on his hearing, and that's the actual veil on his senses. And also made a connection with Surah Maryam where it says, ألم ترى ألم ترى, the meaning of it is, don't you see how we send the shayateen on the kafirin, and they ألم ترى أن أرسلنا الشياطين على الكافرين تؤزهم أزا. I don't know what تؤزهم أزا, I can't translate it. They whisper and they provoke them, and they, so like I agree with what you're saying, and I think that the veil isn't the precursor, it's the result of it.
Actually, then the last question is already there. How can I confirm this message? I mean, yes, we can pick examples from Sirah as well, but actually we can observe this with children in the aisle, playing in the aisle. Like, are these kids preconditioned to anything? Are their hearts seared? Like, this is why parents are set as the guardian of the children, because we are supposed to be careful about them, caring about them, for them, because they are so malleable at this point. Whatever shape you give them, they take the shape. They are very open. At this point, they are very open. This is the human nature in there. It's very recipient to message. And they keep asking the question, how this happens, why this happens. This is all after age 2.5, all the way until we teach them not to question. This is eventually happen. We tend to say, oh, because, just because, right? Since so many overwhelming questions. We start as parents. This is how actually the Prophet says, right? Every person is born, every child is born in the Muslim fitrah, like in a way to accept the truth. That's what that means. But their parents make them Zoroastrian or Christian or Jewish. We condition people to change them to say that no, they don't look for any message outside of this world. Whatever is given to you, this is the answer. Don't look for any meaning beyond what is apparent, right? So the outcome of heart being sealed is happening after the child listens to my messages to them and starts making a decision. comes to a point that as a punishment, heart is being sealed. It's an outcome of my initial choices, actually. This is why I'm not going to read this verse as, oh, since God sealed their hearts, they won't believe. No, it is just the opposite. Because of the initial attitude that I make, I was not able to hear, I was not able to see. Like if I ask you the question, have you encountered any miracle in your lives? Have you ever observed God creating anything in your lives? If the answer is no, then why do I believe God is creator? We had this conversation with a group of people at some point. We were having a discussion. It was a very religious environment. We said, does really God create anything from nothing? And one of the brothers said, oh, yes. Under deep ocean, God creates things from nothing. Have you ever been there? What are you talking about? You're just attributing something you have never seen, you have never experienced to God. So that means in your life, you have never experienced anything that God has created. That we are taking. But rather, we should be more like whatever Quran is saying. Does it make sense to me? This verse is speaking to you. This verse is speaking to me. It is describing me to me. In these discussions, generally, we are trying to take this attitude. How can I confirm this message? How can I confirm that if I take the attitude of this denial, as a response, I am becoming even more blind. If I start with the decision to say, I'm not going to believe, even if you were to show the best miracle before my eyes, I would deny. This had happened. Prophet showed miracle to them, split the moon with his finger, or many miracles before the disbelievers. What did they say? Oh, Muhammad's magic is now affecting the skies. If you want to make up excuses, you will have excuses. This is what that means. But this is a punishment. Yes, not waking up to tahajjud is a punishment, but not observing God creating anything before your eyes is also a punishment. Like when I ask the question, have you ever observed God creating anything before your eyes? If the answer is no, it's already a punishment. Because that means I'm not able to see it, because that means I already took a stand not to see it, even if it's happening right before my eyes. Mr. Zareen seems to have a comment there.
I guess I have a question about maybe the second to last question about it being, is the punishment evil? Is it merciful? Because the way it sounds, I know it makes sense that it's a problem to say that because Allah put a seal, they won't believe. Like that is maybe problematic. But then saying that the punishment is that you can't see these things, like you can't see God's creation. That also feels like a dead end to me, because then, well, if I can't see, how am I supposed to come back? How do I ask for that veil to be lifted, to be able to see this? Like, where does that then come from? If we're not saying that there's no hope for like this Kafir mentality, and it's something that's in us too, in our day-to-day lives, and how we
Very beautiful point. Let's then connect it with that part. Because it's not saying that only he puts a seal on their hearts, puts a seal on their hearing, and a veil on their sight. But concludes by saying, وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, and for them, is a huge punishment. Like if somebody was not seeing, not hearing, not experiencing anything, that would be something like Sister Zareen ate too many candies and her teeth starting rotting. no more teeth, but no pain either. Like you didn't notice that, oh, I didn't notice my teeth went away. It's not like that though. Yes, as a punishment, your teeth were taken away from you, but you were given a pain in replacement. On top of it, you are given a punishment as a wake-up call. You betrayed your creation, your fitra, your nature, and you ate too many candies. Or in this case, you were given this inquisitive humanness with your mind, with your heart, because your heart and your conscience were seeking for meaning. So what meaning are you talking about? I am here to become the best finance person. Like, this is why I am here. What do you mean? Any meaning anything beyond this? Your heart will start crying, saying that no, with all these positions, even if I become the best and the wealthiest, I'm going to the grave. Is it better to die the wealthiest, or is it better to die poor? Like, your heart will cry, it will shout. So you are given this pain, the punishment. So, and interestingly, the word that's used in here, in this verse, if Prophet had been here, he would say something about it. So the word in here is azab. It's not iqab, for example. Azab is a soft word used for punishment. Iqab is a heavy word used for punishment. Also, the word azab is meaning sweet. Like, in a sense, in this punishment, there is a warning in and of itself. But let me ask one more question before I finish. Do we observe this punishment in people's lives? You can check it for yourself, or you can observe outside both. If somebody makes a decision not to listen to the message, and the sight, the hearing, the heart is closed, meaning even if more and more miracles comes, they're blank. You observe that punishment in their lives. Because again, this is a wake-up call for me. In what sense do I observe this so that I'm going to say, as Brother Birkan was mentioning, it's a warning. There's ice, don't come here. If I see people stepping on the ice and slipping and falling and breaking a few bones, in your life, probably you walked, maybe you didn't break your bones yet, but probably you slipped here and there in Philadelphia and everything. So you didn't fall, but you slipped. I did slip, actually. And I just poured some salt before our stairs. Have you ever experienced this? Because of my attitude to close myself to the message, I was punished. Or those who close themselves to message are punished and are in misery. Because this verse looks to two types of punishment. One of them is a punishment of not being able to receive any message any further, which is visible in this life. But how about the azabun azim, like the eternal, the big punishment that is there? This punishment is something also that starts in here. The darkness of this unbelief, the meaninglessness in this world. Like my students right now, up to 3 years ago, they were super happy that they landed on computer science as a major, because it was making, they were starting with at least 90K up to 150K, 160K and whatnot. Their degree was meaningful at that point. Fast forward 3 years later, now they are so much in trouble because of choosing this major. Why? The degree is meaningless at this point. Like, the job market is saturated. You have a degree which doesn't bring you anything. Students day in, day out come to my office. They are trying to find a way to find a job, find some internship, let's publish some paper. Is there a way that I can make anything out of this degree? The same problem happens with you. Why am I? Why am I here? I am living this life and it sucks. And I am dying. What do I do with this life? This is the punishment that I do observe in myself and in others around me. If the belief is not there, if I intentionally block this message, as a punishment, I do observe this outcome. But as an answer to the last point, isn't the punishment evil and unmerciful? To the degree that this is an eternal punishment. The person denied the message in this limited life. You know what's happening with end of year reviews that I receive from my students? Generally, they give me good grades, but occasionally I get 1 out of 5. And this is happening in the terms that I catch students cheating. The cheater that I count is now hating me, saying that, why did you lower my grade? Because I cheated? What sort of a professor are you? You should have just let me go. I'm already paying my tuition. Why are you? I just cheated. I mean, I cheated. I didn't do anything wrong to you. I just cheated myself. Why are you giving me an F? Student says. Student thinks that me not giving an F would be merciful. Me giving an F is unmerciful. This is what student thinks. But in fact, giving an F to that student is merciful. I should give them this punishment so that they wake up. Like if Sister Zerrin keeps eating this candy, giving her the pain, the toothache is very merciful. So that she stops. And of course, we will take away her teeth as a punishment, but also we will give her pain so that she wakes up from that mistake. So hell, the hellfire, which starts here, which is right at the heart of disbelief itself, the people who are struggling with purposelessness in life, that's the fire that starts burning even in here. It's a very merciful creation. The Creator is saying that, wake up. You are not made for this. Yes, you're insisting to close yourself to the message, but just look at yourself. Your body is reacting to it. Your heart is reacting to it. So this is why, yes, a merciful Creator would definitely give you a punishment. A merciful teacher will definitely fail you in class if you cheat. It's out of mercy. It's not against mercy. It's a requirement of mercy, actually. So, how shall we conclude? Do we now see that this speaks to us rather than identifying some disbeliever out there and gossiping about it? This is really talking about me and how I take a stand against the message. And I should be checking myself. Am I, when I sit before Quran as a believer, as an MSA student, as a person with hijab or with, I don't know, memorize this many pages of Quran, whatever, however you describe yourself as religious, do I occasionally take such a stand against the message? When the message comes, do I take such a stand? Quran is warning against this. May Allah make increase us in Iman and conviction, and may Allah make us students of Quran. May Allah make us benefit from Quran. اللهم نور قلوبنا بنور القرآن والإيمان آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.